Most people think learning is slow. You take a course, you read the documentation, you watch a few tutorials. Maybe after a week or two, you finally feel like you understand the topic. But here is the uncomfortable reality. The world is no longer moving at the speed of traditional learning. New frameworks appear every month. New tools replace old workflows every year. Entire roles are being reshaped in a matter of months. The World Economic Forum reported that nearly half of all workers will need significant reskilling within just a few years because of technological change. That means the real challenge is not whether you can learn something. The real question is this: can you learn it fast enough to keep up? Because right now, the people who win are not necessarily the smartest people in the room. They are the people who have figured out how to compress the learning stack, and strangely enough, the tool that is making this possible is the same thing many people fear: artificial intelligence, but not in the way people think. AI is not simply about generating work for you. The real power is something far more interesting. AI can help you discover what you do not know, and once you know what you lack, learning becomes dramatically faster. Let me explain. Think about how most people learn today. They start from the beginning. If someone wants to learn Kubernetes, they open a course and start at Lesson 1. Introduction to Containers, History of Containerization, Basic Networking. Architecture concepts, but what if the learner already knows half of that? They still have to sit through it. They still burn hours on information they already understand. Traditional education assumes everyone starts from the same place. But in the real world, nobody does. Some people know infrastructure but not orchestration. Some know programming but not deployment. Some understand systems but not architecture. And this is where AI changes the game. Instead of consuming massive amounts of content and hoping something sticks, AI can act like a diagnostic mirror. You can explain your current understanding. You can challenge it with problems. You can ask it to evaluate your reasoning. Within minutes, it can expose the exact gaps in your knowledge. Education researchers call this identifying the learner's zone of proximal development, a concept introduced by psychologist Lev Vygotsky. It describes the exact area where learning happens fastest, just beyond what you already know. AI helps us locate that zone almost instantly. Suddenly, learning becomes targeted. Not broad, not vague, precise. Instead of learning everything, you learn the missing pieces. That alone compresses the learning time dramatically. But that is only the first layer, because once you identify the gap, AI can immediately generate custom training material tailored to that gap. Imagine this scenario. You are a developer who understands SQL well, but you are struggling with distributed databases. Instead of watching a 6-hour course on distributed systems, you ask AI to build a micro course specifically for someone with strong SQL knowledge but limited distributed system experience. In seconds, it can produce something like this: a 10-minute explanation of consensus algorithms, a diagram of how replication works, a practical analogy explaining eventual consistency, a few short exercises to test your understanding. Suddenly, you are not navigating a giant curriculum. You are receiving exactly the knowledge you need, nothing more. Nothing less. This idea is known as microlearning, and the research behind microlearning is actually very strong. Studies published in the Journal of Applied Psychology have shown that learners retain significantly more information when material is delivered in small, focused chunks rather than long lectures. Similarly, research summarized by Training Magazine reports dramatically higher completion rates for short learning modules compared to long traditional courses. The reason is simple: human attention works better in small bursts. Psychologist George Miller famously described this limitation in his paper, The Magical Number 7 plus or minus 2, explaining that our working memory can only hold a small amount of information at once. Microlearning respects that limitation. AI makes this process scalable. It allows us to create dynamic micro-courses on demand, courses that never existed before you asked for them, courses tailored to your experience level, courses that evolve as your understanding grows. Now imagine taking this one step further. What if learning became a continuous loop? You attempt a task, you fail or struggle. AI analyzes the problem. It identifies the concept you are missing. Then it generates a 5-minute lesson specifically for that gap. You learn, you try again, the system adapts. This is no longer traditional education. This is adaptive learning, and adaptive learning has already been studied extensively. Research from institutions like Carnegie Mellon University has shown that adaptive learning systems can dramatically reduce the time it takes for students to reach mastery. The reason is simple. The system continuously adjusts to the learner. If someone already understands a concept, it skips it. If someone struggles, it provides additional material. Instead of forcing everyone through the same training program, the learning path becomes dynamic. That means people reach competency much faster, because they are not spending time on information they already know. Now, this might sound futuristic, but if you are using AI tools today, you can already simulate this process yourself. A simple workflow looks something like this. First, ask AI to evaluate your current understanding. You might say something like this: I want to learn Terraform for infrastructure automation. Here is what I already know. I understand cloud infrastructure and scripting, but I have never used Terraform before. Identify the most critical concepts I need to learn. Immediately you get a map. Not a giant course, a targeted roadmap. Next, ask the AI to compress the material. Create a fast learning path that can teach me the fundamentals in 2 hours. Now the information becomes distilled. Then convert it into micro lessons. Now you have something practical. Add exercises. Create small problems I can solve to test each concept. Then ask AI to evaluate your answers. If you get something wrong, ask it to explain why. This feedback loop is incredibly powerful because learning becomes iterative. Instead of passively consuming information, you actively probe your knowledge, and AI responds instantly. Now here is the interesting twist. This approach actually changes how we think about intelligence itself. In the past, intelligence was often associated with how much information someone had memorized. But in a world where information is instantly accessible, that definition starts to break down. The new form of intelligence looks different. It is the ability to ask better questions, the ability to identify gaps faster, the ability to synthesize knowledge quickly. Computer scientist Alan Kay once said, "The best way to predict the future is to invent it." In many ways, AI allows us to invent a new approach to learning. One where the learner is constantly interacting with knowledge rather than passively absorbing it. AI becomes less like a teacher and more like a learning amplifier. It accelerates curiosity, it accelerates feedback, it accelerates understanding. But there is one important detail. Humans are still in the loop. AI can generate information, but humans decide what matters. Humans provide context. Humans judge accuracy, and humans ultimately apply the knowledge in the real world. So the goal is not to let AI think for you. The goal is to use AI to accelerate how you think. Think of it like this. Traditional learning is like reading an entire encyclopedia hoping the answer appears somewhere in the pages. AI-assisted learning is like having a research assistant constantly asking, what exactly are you trying to understand? What part is confusing? What assumption might be wrong? What concept is missing? That assistant helps you navigate the ocean of knowledge far more efficiently. And that brings us back to the original idea, compressing the learning stack, because the real challenge today is not access to information. We have more information than any generation in human history. The real challenge is navigating it quickly enough. The people who thrive in this environment will not be the ones who study the longest. They will be the ones who learn the most strategically. People who constantly diagnose their knowledge gaps. People who build custom learning loops. People who turn AI into a thinking partner rather than a content generator. If you can master that process, something interesting happens. Learning stops feeling slow. Instead of weeks, it takes hours. Instead of months, it takes days, and suddenly you are no longer reacting to change. You are adapting faster than the environment around you, and that may be the most important skill of the AI era, not coding. Not prompting, not automation, learning faster than everyone else.